Lovely. Okay. So,
They say when you meet the love of your life, time stops. And that's true.
the ultimate end is to know God and to enjoy Him relationally and openly and honestly and with joy. And that really is what friendship is. And so it's to commune with God and then to commune with all of those who also commune with God together, to be in a rich, open, deep, joyful friendship with the friends of God. And so from beginning to end in the Bible, it seems like this is what we are redeemed for. As Jonathan Edwards said, heaven is a world of love. And Jesus defined love in terms of sacrificial friendship. And when we look at the end of the Bible, we have a world of relationships and enjoyment together in a new creation that's portrayed as a city filled with relational joy. Drew Hunter serves as the teaching pastor at Zionsville Fellowship in Zionsville, Indiana, and is the author of a number of books, including Made for Friendship, The Relationship That Halves Our Sorrows and Doubles Our Joys, from Crossway. Drew, thanks so much for joining me today on the Crossway podcast. Thanks for having me. So it's almost a cliche these days to say that many men, that we struggle sometimes with forming deep, meaningful friendships. I think I've heard it said that, you know, although men often have lots of casual, maybe shallow friendships, that nevertheless many of us are actually inside quite lonely. And we don't feel the connections that we even wish we did have. I wonder if you have any experiences, you know, in your own life or as a pastor, as a guide, do you resonate with that? How common do you think that those feelings of loneliness and maybe isolation can be among men? Yeah, it seems to be quite pervasive, especially now. So there's a number of statistics that have come out over the past generation that have shown the decline in friendships in general, and friendships among men would be a significant part of that as well, where different studies show different statistics, but in general there has been a steep decline in the past 20, 30 years, especially among men, where, you know, maybe 30 years ago, the average man had 3 close friends. Now he has 1 close friend, and something like half of all men would say no one really knows them well at all. Or something like, my relationships aren't meaningful in life. So there's a real famine in male friendship today, friendship in general, but especially among men as well, that wasn't there necessarily in generations ago. It's across Western culture, it's in America, and it's recent that it's gotten this significant.
So I want to get to some of the reasons why men can struggle to form these deep friendships that you're talking about in this book that you've written. But before we get into the reasons, I think sometimes as guys we can be pretty good at distracting ourselves from these negative feelings of loneliness or isolation, and we can even not recognize or understand even how we're feeling about some of these things. We might not even feel our need for friends as much as we actually could or should. So what do you make of that? What's behind our struggle as guys to sometimes even put words to our need for friends?
That's a really good question, and really an insightful observation. And there's probably a number of factors that have come into that, especially for men today in a Western context. So one of those factors is, and this affects even the reason why men struggle to have friendships, but it's even struggling why we fail to even recognize and articulate the need, is that our even understanding of what it means to be a man and what true masculinity has changed over the past generations and couple centuries in America and the West. So, for instance, there's a book by a man named Richard Godbeer who talked about just friendships among men in America in the early kind of founding era, around 1800-ish. And he talked about their awareness of their feelings, of their loneliness, of their longing for friendship. They were able to express appreciation for their friendship. You know, one man writes to another and says, who moved away and said, I had no idea how much I would miss you and how much you were such a central part of my happiness in life. I miss you. You know, all these ways of talking.
Play the music.
You read some of those, and there's like this, you know, some of it is just the cultural, the way that they spoke or the way they wrote, at least in that day. But there can be these like overflowing expressions of affection for other men that today might strike us as a little bit odd.
Right. Yeah, and so two of the factors that have happened would be, one, we have sexualized relationships and love. And so for a man to say affectionate affirmations of love to another man can be quickly misinterpreted as sexual, and so men avoid that, and then even avoid thinking and feeling that, thinking it's even wrong to feel those things, if they want to avoid coming across that way. And so, and the other factor is we've really just changed our view of masculinity. Nancy Pearcey's done a lot of writing of this, just talking about the toxic war on masculinity, that book she's written. And there's other people who have noted this, that over time, even just the influence of Darwin and survival of the fittest has shaped the way that men understand themselves as macho and aggressive and competitive. And then certain characteristics that used to be true of men and women, even if they were largely down the spectrum toward feminine, vulnerability, affection, inner thought with feelings, able to express affirmation with people, those kinds of things have been so pushed into the feminine category that men don't think it belongs with them. And so there's certain ways, even just living as a man, that make us think, and it reinforces this mindset and way of living that we're less in touch with our feelings, we're less in touch with our loves and our longings, we're less even aware of how much we love other men in a real, non-erotic way. And so that keeps us from feeling like we are even thinking about our feelings, and we don't have the context to express those. And we don't have examples of other men who are doing that. So all of that keeps us from even being self-aware of what's even going on inside of us and what normal should be anymore.
Yeah. Well, that's a great transition then to some of the other reasons why we are prevented, what the obstacles that we can sometimes face as men to developing what you call true friendship with other men. And so you just referenced one of those that I thought was really interesting and I had on my list, was just the fact that so often we don't have good models of other men in our lives, especially when we're young, looking to older men, maybe of the previous generation, of what that kind of a deep, sincere, intimate friendship might have looked like. How big a factor is that when you think about the landscape with men and friendship today?
I imagine it's a huge factor. So much of what we think is normal in life and what we've set before us as ambitions and goals for what we pursue in life and how we construe the good life that we're actually after is shaped by people that we admire and respect. And so if you're a man and you didn't grow up in a home with a dad, or with a dad who prioritized other friendships, and you saw saw him and you knew his friends and you saw that this brings him such joy, then you're not going to have that vision as closely as you could have in life. And then as you look around, if so many other of your peers didn't have that or aren't doing that either, that's going to affect you. And then, of course, we grow up in a culture that has not prioritized community. It's prioritized many other things that remove relationships from our lives and deprioritize them. And then that keeps us from seeing other models and other men. And a few of those factors would be, in the past couple generations, there's a bit of reaction every generation, right? So we're reacting a bit to this, but in the previous generation, and this was the generation my dad grew up in, careers called men to climb the corporate ladder, which meant moving your family across the country and then moving again. And as people uproot themselves, they're prioritizing career advancement over community and deep relationships. And then as a culture does this, then there's really subtle ways that this shapes our experience. So city planners create streets without sidewalks for walking. So now you have your home and you have a back deck rather than a front porch, and everything's communicating and normalizing that you just have your own life, you have your job, and you don't overlap with one another. And so our lives are disintegrated from one another, and our social spheres don't overlap. And so you look around and who's doing this well? There's so many factors against us, and we don't have good models. And so even if we want to do it, we're behind in the game.
Yeah, another thing that you highlight in the book a little bit is just the way that so often, and I think this is true of our experience as men, so often we can be afraid that if we were to truly pursue a deep friendship, that entails some level of vulnerability, some level of opening up, sharing our thoughts and our feelings. And that can just be a very scary thing to do. I think we feel like we could be judged, we could be mocked. You know, I was thinking one of the maybe most common characteristics of male friendship, at least in kind of the broader popular imagination, is this idea of kind of mocking and sarcasm, joking with each other. Mm-hmm. And I kind of wonder, how much of that do you think is appropriate and maybe just kind of part of the makeup of broadly what a male friendship looks like, and how much of that is really symptomatic of the problem that we have when it comes to how we think about friendship?
Yeah, so I think there may be an appropriate place for the kind of friendly, making fun, joking around friends. But it's a small place, and it must be outweighed by clear, evident expressions of affirmation, love, encouragement, acceptance. Especially connected to what you said at the beginning of men not being vulnerable and open with one another about their true selves. So, if you do not feel safe with someone to share something that might be a weakness or something that is exposing of your own life, if you don't feel safe with them, you're not going to do it. I mean, you are not going to repeatedly open yourself up to someone if they ignore what you're doing, they get uncomfortable with what you're saying, or they make fun of you, or they dismiss it, or you'll find out very quickly, and men do, before they even open themselves up, you can get a read because you listen to men make fun of other kinds of men for certain behaviors or certain things in life, and you realize, I know exactly what would happen if I admit that I struggle with this, or if I share this. Like, the guy's gonna make fun of me, or if he doesn't, I know what he's really thinking because I've already heard it. I've heard him mock this person or make fun of this person, and so we then have these environments of male friendship where we just don't feel safe with each other to go any deeper than the superficial. And so we just say things to get the laugh, and then that is just going to limit the depth that you can have in a real friendship. But in 1 John, John says, if we walk in the light as he is in the light, we have fellowship with one another, and the blood of Jesus cleanses us from all unrighteousness. So that's a vision of real relationship and friendship, of walking in the light, which is not perfect obedience. It's actually honesty with even failure, right? It's coming out of the darkness into the light. And he says, if you walk in the light and bring yourself in open honesty, there's two results. There's real friendship and there's felt forgiveness. And so to have real friendship, you have to be able to expose your darkness to one another. But yeah, if we have a culture of making fun of each other for anything that can be perceived as weakness or darkness, then we'll just keep that bottled up. And we won't grow, we won't be deep with each other. And that's what we have, and that's what many friendships do have.
Yeah, I think it's convicting for me to think about some of my friendships, and just something as simple as doing an inventory of what I've said, the kinds of conversations that I've had over the last week or month, how much of them have been characterized by either kind of shallow conversation or joking of different sorts versus, as you said, sincere affirmation and expressions of real affection or love or sharing real things. If 90% of our interaction with each other is in the former category, it's just, we're not gonna have deep friends, because you can't build a deep friendship on that kind of thing.
Right.
So one of the other things that you highlight in the book is just the way that when we think about being vulnerable with each other, that often takes the form of sharing our weaknesses, sharing even our sins with one another, and asking for help or for prayer or for forgiveness. And yet you describe sin as antisocial in the book. How sin has this ability to curve us inward and on ourselves and isolate us. I wonder if you could just speak a little bit more to just that universal struggle that we have with sin and how that can sometimes affect our friendships.
Yeah, so this then will be a reason why all of us struggle with friendship, right? Not just men, or not just, men today, but all of us have this tendency within us that is self-oriented. So the New Testament refers to it as the flesh, this kind of self-oriented drive in us, where rather than being bent outward toward God and others in love, we're mainly turned inward and thinking about how to protect ourselves and get what we really want, which is usually the wrong things, because we have disordered loves. And so that means that when we're in a relationship, we're not mainly or first, when our sin or our flesh is driving us, we're not mainly thinking, how can I love this person and serve this person and sacrifice for this person? We're mainly thinking, how can I have a good time? How can I enjoy this? We pick our friends then based sheerly on who makes me feel good, who does things that I like doing, in this self-oriented nature. And so that means some people will be driven to isolation totally because they don't like people and they just want to be by themselves. Other people will then pursue merely superficial relationships with people that will just flatter them or affirm them and make them feel good about themselves. And then they won't pursue the kind of life-giving relationships that require honesty, openness, sharing of weakness, self-sacrifice for one another. Really, Jesus is the model of the opposite. He even defined love in John 15 as laying your life down for your friends. And so there is an outward orientation of love that is the mark of the real good life, where real friendship can be found. And we have within us a tendency that is against our own best desires for friendship.
So another maybe common objection or roadblock to developing true friendships with other men that I've heard men articulate before is just the struggle with finding time. And you've kind of hit on that a little bit with our tendency to pursue a career, and life feels so busy these days that it can be hard to have the time necessary for really developing a good friendship. And I know I've heard people say that, the key to a good friendship, deep friendships, is not quality time, it's quantity time. And that could just be really difficult in our culture today. So what would you say to that?
Yeah, so there's a number of things that men can do to build this into their lives. And so part of it, if you just get a clear, beautiful, compelling vision for what friendship can look like in your life, then any man can get creative. So even if I have some suggestions, which I do, we make time for what we value and prioritize. And so at one level you can say, people are like, we're so busy, we don't have time for, all sorts of things in life. On the other hand, you look at statistics of how much time we're spending on entertainment and Netflix and on YouTube, and it's like, well, hold on a second. Are we really that busy? Well, yes, okay. All our time is accounted for, but with what, right? And so we probably all have things we can rearrange and deprioritize in our life. I mean, if you cut out all just mindless scrolling on your phone and movies and shows, you have a lot of time actually left. But aside from that, there are men who they just have a lot of commitments with family, with work, and so forth. So what do? A couple things.
Because one response even could be on the entertainment side is, yeah, I do spend time, let's say, watching movies occasionally or listening to a podcast, but that's because, I've spent all day at work, engaging intellectually and interacting with people and cultivating relationships there, and I'm also caring for my wife and my family, and so I can't go out now and make a new friend in that last hour of my day. I'm exhausted, and
Right.
so yeah, again, help us think through some of the strategies for again, like you said, prioritizing friendship in the right way.
So a couple things. One would be building rhythms into your schedule. So we do that with things that we value. Most people who have some rhythm of working out or running or exercising in their life, they would probably admit, if I didn't block out times in my schedule, I wouldn't get it done, and I would feel overwhelmed and like I didn't have time for it. but then we force it to happen by putting that in our schedule. So I'd say, we prioritize work and family and meals as a family, perhaps if you have a family, and Bible reading, if that's a priority, we make sure it happens. I'd say, okay, build friendship, and you can start small, but build it into your schedule. So maybe at work, you're eating lunch at some point, block off every Monday, and you can either say, I'm going to have lunch with this person every Monday, or you can say, Mondays, I don't know who it's going to be, but every week I'm going to try to meet with someone. And I'll schedule that with someone from church or my neighborhood or my workplace. And I'm just going to build Mondays for that. Or you can open up an evening. So my wife and I, for instance, in a lot of seasons of life, we'll just pick one night a week for hospitality. And we'll just say, we're inviting someone over. And when dinner works well, we'll invite people over for dinner. We have several kids that are in our house right now, which make it a little more chaotic. So right now our season is more like after the kids go to bed, have people over for drinks and dessert or something. And our kids are just at the age where they can be left alone with the older one kind of supervising. So now we can go to someone else's house and do this. So building that into our life has really helped, because we just have a day, Wednesday nights, that we both know is open for hospitality, and we both are excited for one of us to invite someone over. We don't have to keep running it by each other. You don't have to kind of play the game of like, well, when do we have an evening? It's a few weeks out. It's like, well, no, it's every Wednesday. So that's an idea. Another thing would be inviting people into what you're already doing. So if you are working out regularly, why not do it with a friend? I have a friend I work out with regularly, and we have a great friendship, and so much of that happens through being intentional together. We're working out. So if you're having dinner, have people over for dinner. If you're watching the NBA and you have a friend who loves the playoffs and finals as well, invite them over for games.
Family.
We've done that
What
before.
do they mean from a black,
We've
queer,
invited a
and feminist
neighbor
perspective?
over to
This
watch
memoir lyrically
All
explores the
Creatures
lives of
Great
the
and
author,
Small,
Francesca
because
P.
we
Royster,
love that
her
together.
wife
We
Annie,
found out a
who's
neighbor
white,
did,
and
so we
Cecilia,
have
the black
her
daughter they
over
adopt as a couple
whenever
in
we
their 40s and
watch
50s.
that as
It's
a
beautiful
family.
and
So
brilliant
there's
story about claiming
hobbies
joy that
and
society
sports and
didn't
things we can
intend
do with
to
other
assign to you.
people.
Listen now on
And
Spotify.
then even aside from those kinds of things, two things come to mind that don't take really any other much time at all. One would be to reach out in small ways. Send a quick note, give a quick call, leave an encouraging voicemail. There was a study done a couple years ago, it was in the New York Times, I think, where they were trying to find out the impact of small touch points of communication between people in relationships and friendships. And they found out, as they asked people what do you think is the impact if you send an encouraging note? Like, thinking of you, just saw this and it made me think of this memory, hope you're doing well, whatever. And they said, yeah, I don't really do that because I think it'll be an annoyance to them, or they don't have time, or they don't care, or if I send it doesn't make a difference. And then they asked people, how do you feel when someone sends you a note like that? And they say, it made my day. This person has no idea how that email, that text, that phone call, just to say they were thinking of me or just to encourage me, meant to me. So what that shows is that we really, on our side of needing to extend it, need to rethink the impact of our encouragement on other people in very small ways that doesn't take much time at all, and we can sprinkle through our day. So that's one small thing we can do. And then the other thing is just when we are with people, making the most of our time together in meaningful ways. So rather than sarcasm and superficial conversation, take it down a notch and encourage people and ask questions. I think questions, being curious and asking questions, is perhaps the best key to taking relationships deeper. And that doesn't require more time. That requires a different mindset when you're with people. And that can be at work, that can be at church, and so forth. And then maybe just one other suggestion as far as like we don't have time for this is, you know, if you're a Christian and you're going to church every Sunday, why not come 10 minutes early and just stay for 20 minutes after? You're already going. You have your Sunday reserved for this. So we have a culture, our church, where we prioritize this. Come early, linger longer. And people do. And they get to know each other. They introduce people to one another. They have intentional conversations. Then they set up times to get together during the week. So just when you have an event to go to, just show up early, linger longer, and use that time to ask good questions, get to know people, and be intentional. This really doesn't take a whole lot more time in life. We're busy, but those are a number of ways that we can just reframe how we think about life, prioritizing friendship, and go deeper.
Yeah. That emphasis on just intentionality in some of the things that we're already doing, I think is so valuable, and that does underscore, though, that when you talk about friendship in this book, you're talking about something a little bit distinct and maybe more defined. It's a certain type of friendship that isn't the same as just the kind of the shallow, casual kind of relationships that we so often gravitate towards. You know, I think of the way that guys might have many friends, and then we might even gather together related to sports or other hobbies, fishing activities. but that doesn't necessarily guarantee there's going to be a really deep, true friendship that develops there. And oftentimes we're just content to let it be in the surface. So what would you say are some of the key marks or characteristics of a true friendship in how you're defining it in this book?
So, one way to define friendship is just simply called a close relationship of love, truth, and trust. So I think in the book I define it something like it's an affectionate bond forged as we journey together with truth and trust. And so that gets at some of the aspects of real friendship there. So there's a closeness to real friendship. There's an affectionate bond with real friendship. So I think of David and Jonathan. It said Jonathan loved David as his own soul. There's actually a really curious statement in Deuteronomy where Moses is listing just a number of relationships, brother, sister, dad, mother-in-law, and he mentions friend. But the word, it doesn't just say friend, it says friend, your friend who is as your own soul. So there's a closeness that's developed in real friendships. And at one level, there's something mysterious about the forming of this bond. You can't just force it with two people. There is a compatibility that needs to be felt out over time, even though you can, I think, be close with anyone, especially in Christ. There's a bond that can forge more easily with people that have similarities. So C.S. Lewis talked about a friendship starts when two people say, "You too?" Right? You realize you have something in common, but then it's forged over time with experience, with deeper conversations, the things we've been talking about so far. And then it's marked by truth and trust. So there has to be honesty. There has to be honesty in a few different ways. Honesty with revealing who you really are, because if you are hiding who you really are, then they do not know the true you or the full you. They have a smaller or a distorted picture of who you are, which means they don't really know you, and over time you realize that, which means to whatever degree you feel like they love you, you become aware even subconsciously that they actually love the you you're projecting to them, or the you you're showing them, and you then don't even feel loved. And so there's a distance there. So you have to be honest with yourself. 1 John 1, walking in the light results in real friendship. And then there also has to be honesty to be able to say hard things to one another when needed. That does not need to be all the time. I think if you enjoy rebuking people, that's probably, you do it all the time, that's a problem. But in proportion when needed, it's important. It's a sign of love. Proverbs says that open love is connected to rebuke. So it pairs those together, that if you rebuke someone, it says it's a faithful wound and it's open love rather than hidden love, which is you're hiding your love by not rebuking and not giving a faithful wound to your friend. So there's times when a friend needs to hear something corrective from you. And then the other piece of truth is, if someone shares something with you, you need to be able to be keeping confidences. So if someone does not believe that you will guard the truth and honor the confidentiality, they will not tell you. We all know this, right? I have people in my life that I was hoping to have a close relationship with, and it was very clear to me the way that they would share about other people with me made it obvious to me that if I share things with them, they're gonna share with other people what I'm telling them. And I realized I cannot trust this person, which means I cannot be a close friend with this person. I can be friendly, I need to love them, but there's no way I can share with them. So we need to be the kind of person that makes it very clear we're trustworthy, we don't gossip, we will guard and keep confidences, and so we can be truthful and we can be trustworthy there. So those are key marks: love, truth, and trust, built over time through mixed experiences with intentionality. That's how real friendships forged.
Drew, how would you define the difference between
Hello, everyone.
true friend and an accountability partner? Which is another one of those terms in kind of male discipleship, male spaces that has a lot of we throw around a lot, we talk about a lot.
Yeah. I remember there was someone who wrote an article a number of years ago, and it was right when the phenomena of accountability groups came up, right? So these have not always been around, things called accountability groups. And he heard someone talk about it. He's like, well, what is this? And then as they described it, he thought, I have friends, you know? So what that gets at,
Hello, everyone.
Accountability groups can be important and helpful for different struggles that men have and in different seasons. However, what accountability groups are at best is a slice of real friendship. They're doing for one another one piece of what should be part of real friendship between men. So it can be okay, I suppose. I don't want to make a judgment on accountability groups altogether, to have a focused group or relationship where you're particularly dialed in, maybe for a season, on a particular struggle or sin, and you need focused help on that. However, how much better would that be if you had that with someone who also knew you through and through and loved you, and you also knew about them and cared for them and knew their struggles, and you also experienced not just a focused question and conversation about a struggle, but all the joys of life together.
Helping her track
So
her spending and grow her money.
accountability should be a
Together we'll
part
achieve more than
of
any of
real
us could alone.
friendship.
That's the power of Jess.
Walking in
and
the
this
light
is the power
together,
of us.
walking
Visit
in
usbank.com
honesty
today to get
with
started.
one
Member FDIC,
another.
copyright 2025.
And
US Bank.
so, if there's an accountability group or accountability partner, I think the best way to do that is to make it approximate real friendship as much as possible, or maybe it not approximates the best way to put it, but to move in the direction of a broader, multifaceted friendship. So it's not one way asking questions, but it's two-way. There's mutual encouragement. There's sharing life together. So that really by the time an accountability group has developed over time, you realize, well, look, what we have here is a really great friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I love about this book, Drew, is that in addition to sort of providing some of the kind of analysis of our hearts and our attitudes towards friendship, providing some practical advice and help in terms of forming friendships in a way that is going to be good for us long term. You also speak a little bit to some of the profound and deep theological connections that this idea of friendship have to our lives, to God's redemption of us, to God's word. And you write at one point in the book that friendship is the ultimate and it's pretty profound claim. Yeah, so the best way to explain that without sounding like I'm saying so the ultimate is community and ultimately what I would say is community God and history all the way full friendship. So in friendship is a key aspect of how the Bible talks about what community of God is. Images to refer to relationship friendship is a significant one in the Bible. And so our ultimate end is to know God and to enjoy Him relationally and openly, honestly enjoy. And that really is what friendship is. And so it's to commune God and then to commune all of those who also commune God, to be in a rich, open, deep, joyful friendship with the friends of God. And so from the beginning of the Bible, it seems like this is what we are redeemed for. And our eternal future, as God never said, is a world of love. And Jesus finally learns friendship and we again a world of relationships and doing together. Then creation is praise the city, filled with relationships. So that's why it's ultimate, of course. Yeah, it's possible not to see in the church and our vision for church. The idea of fellowship, believers, friendship, believers, so central to God's vision for people. But one of God's also says the idea of relationship with God, God's vision for humanity. That's one thing a lot of those chapters of praising the theme, friendship, friendship, the Bible. However, the highlights from that work that you are and not a relationship we're going to see justice, the idea of good and alone. Any other high points when it comes to the Bible. Yeah, so when you see Genesis, Genesis is good and alone. And the words of the Bible is also using Genesis is not good and alone. And then creates us around and multiply, fill the world with and like and God's life and God's message. God's here, who always existed in the fullness of human love together, self-giving love. And this God not creates needs us to create us overflow and create a world filled with human love. Which explains why destination of is God and along the way, as we move through God's storyline, you see the list of people who are all friends. You see Noah with God, Abraham's all friend God, Moses is communing with God, David is a friend. But overall, even though you have these few people, especially 7 years, you have close relationship with God, your friendship. By and large, people did not know God in terms of friendship explicitly in the Bible. And then Jesus comes, he says to his disciples, no longer do I call you servants, but I call you friends. So there is a most complicated fundamental shift happening. So we're going to shift happening right there. No longer is Jesus finding relationship in terms of servant master, even though in certain spiritual qualities, as far as Jesus is concerned, he is relating to us at a high level in terms of friendship. And so of course, I call the Bible is that reference to Jesus. And Jesus, before he died, told his disciples, I call you my friends. And he's very much known this, and he lays life down for his friends. And I think so amazing about that statement is Jesus is doing another thing. Number one, he is defining the New Testament love ethic and what relationship to people. Because he has just given them a new kind of love command, a new command to love one another. And then now he's defining that in terms of sacrificial friendship, which means the relationship Christians have is not just to love one another in general, in particular as sacrificial friendship love. So he defines that and he gives himself as an example, and he gives the cross as the beginning of it. As he even explains his love for us, so he defines love for us, he defines our redemption cross as an act of sacrificial friendship love, and then that's what creates a heathen love in terms of friendship, creates us love for one another. And then we move through the as you see the Acts, the Christians are loving one another in such a way that gives a little snapshot at the end of Acts 2 and Acts 4, where he's describing the local church, and he's using language, there's not phrases from the Reformed writings to define friendship, and in those writings it's like the idea of people have, and he's just saying, hey, what we're doing. They have one soul, one mind, oh, he's giving them to one another. This is friendship, this is happening in the church. And one other is friendship language expression, and of course, creation. Those of you have a long way. Yeah, then there's also a driving chapter. It really is one of those things that exactly kind of like the story of the guys. That's right. The last question, I see Bible quote.
as the inspiration for the subtitle of this book. What you just read that quote for us, it's a little more wide, so comes to you. Yes, the quote is, it's full of sorrow, because it's full of sin. It is a dark place, it is a lonely place, it is a disappointing place. The brightest sunbeam is friend. Friendship has our troubles and no troubles. So in all my writing, or reading on friendship over the years, and still to this day, that's my favorite. And the idea of friendship having our sorrows, our troubles, and our joys isn't completely original, while the other word is rolled through the centuries, but he captures it in this quote. I love it for its honesty and its realism also. So it's honest and realistic, because we all know this world is hard. Our life is filled with sin and sorrow and lonely and disappointed, and it's dark for a myriad of reasons that we all are well aware of, and unique ways to experience it. And J.C. Ryle says something that I really believe. God gives us a bright sunbeam in the darkness of the brightest of sunbeams, and that brightest of sunbeams is a friend. And I think that's true. It means the friend is ultimately the Lord Jesus. God himself comes to us as a true friend, and he gives us another friend reflecting his image of friendship for us, and that brings joy in this sorrow. Second, the way we say friend has our troubles and so everything we go through, burdens are cut in half or more as a friend comes along and bears those with us. Knows what we're going through, loves us through it, seeks sanity around us, bears those burdens with us, and tells us joys. Whenever we experience something, I think about my life, I think about all my greatest moments of joy. They have people I love there with me, and if you remove those people, I would not be as happy as I'm not. And so sharing joys multiplies them. So I love that for realism, I love it for and that is one true for me, and that's his life, and he's great for friends out there. Thanks so much for this book. Also characterized by realism and incredible hope. We think about blessing about lots of his children, as his friends, as he then mirror his friendship with us and our relationship with others. Thanks so much. Thank you. That was your mentor on friendship. For more copies of the book, made for friendship, a relationship that has our sorrows and double for joys. Pick up a copy of the book for yourself, or keep a copy of the book for yourself, or keep a copy of the book for yourself.